Welcome, guys, to Canadian Yorker here, and we are live on YouTube. I'm trying to pin myself here. There we go. I should be pinned now. 1 second. We're reacting to a video on from a YouTuber, and this YouTuber is online. Basically made a video about how in the K-pop music there might be an element of racism there. So in this video, in this live stream for today, I just want to take some time and watch this video with you guys to kind of gauge the temperature, um, and also because you know I am black, but I happen to be um, a fan of K-pop music, and I watch K-pop. I listen to K-pop songs. I sometimes go to concerts in K-pop venues. So there's a lot that remains to be seen. So it's a bit of a detour, a bit different from what we normally do, because I know I'm talking about sports and I'm taking a totally different route. This is totally different from what we normally do on this channel. But for today, I'm just trying to pin myself in there, but I can't seem to get myself pinned properly. So I'm gonna have to just wing this thing by ear, and you guys will have to watch this with me. Hopefully everything will go well, and the sound is all right, and you can hear everything from the video. Um, but the video is not long; it's 8 minutes long. Um, I don't want to talk for too long. I just want to let it play. So without further ado, let's get started and get this party going. All right. So if you can't hear anything, I apologize. Um, it's a shame I can't really pick up any sounds. I apologize for that. But without further ado, let's get into this.
Recently, many events that affected and offended the black community took place in K-pop, such as Kiss of Life celebrating one of the members' birthdays with a stereotypical themed hip-hop party, Card BM mumbling the N-word, leaked videos of Jenny Rose and Lisa saying the N-word, and more. After these occurrences, netizens brought to light other incidents that had previously happened in the industry, realizing that K-pop had become somewhat of a playground for cultural appropriation and discrimination. In that regard, a discussion surrounding racism and the integration of black culture into K-pop was raised, with even a few idols expressing how they feel about it, and that's what we'll be talking about today. Quick disclaimer, I am not black, and although I am fortunately educated enough on the matter, I am still a human being and can make mistakes and misspeak, so if I am in any way disrespectful, feel free to correct me. First, let's talk about the incident that, in a way,
All right, let's just pause right there, guys. So in the first part of the video, they're saying that K-pop is influenced by black culture, which is true. To a huge extent, K-pop has taken many different types of musical styles and made it its own. Um, I mean, rap music is one of them. R&B, all kinds of musical styles, jazz. Haven't really seen any country music, no rock and roll. Well, yeah, at one point, rock and roll was considered part of black culture. So there's a lot of things that K-pop has taken from there. So let's continue.
Initiated all of this. Kiss of Life's video. On Julie's birthday, Kiss of Life members posted a video where they were dressed and acting according to the stereotype placed upon the black culture. Fans, and particularly the black community, were rightfully hurt by the video and expressed their disappointment in various ways, writing letters to the girls, emailing their company, boycotting the group, and more. The disappointment was accentuated because this is now the second time that one of the members has disrespected black culture. The first time was when Julie sang the N-word a long time ago in a YG evaluation, but apologized for it. This led fans to the big question: are K-pop idols racist? Let's take a deep dive into it. It's very common to see fans defending such actions with the argument or excuse that Asian people are not taught about racism. Is this true though? Well, no. Korean people are taught about racism, xenophobia, and prejudice, but not in the same way or depth as in the West. South Korea is an ethnically homogeneous country, and historically it has never had a large black population or culture integrated or introduced to it in any way. The concept of racism and prejudice towards black people taught in school often focuses more on nationalism rather than systemic racism. The education
Yeah, I just want to pause it right there, guys. So that is true. In Asia Asia, South Korea is a homogenous,
Lemonade, pet,
racially homogenous
insurance.
country.
3 words you've probably never heard.
Sorry about that. South Korea, Japan, China, they're all racially homogenous countries, and a lot of them don't really have very ethnically diverse. It's not very diverse as America or Great Britain or the West. So over there, they have many Japanese, many South Koreans who have never grown up with the concept of racism, and so racism is not really well known. Well, they have it among themselves, of course. Japanese don't like Koreans, Koreans don't like Chinese, Chinese don't like Japanese and Koreans. All of them don't really, they all have their own type of thing. But when it comes to like being a black person, it's just different because people might be curious about being, they see a black person, they might be curious about a black person. So it's kind of different. It's a different culture and different lifestyle. So that's what I can say about that.
Education surrounding global racial issues like slavery, segregation, and rights is limited and superficial, so the people who wish to learn more about it have to go beyond what's taught in schools. However, the chances of someone who grows up unaffected by said social issues and in a place that does not stress its importance going beyond the surface to learn more are minimal. Sometimes, even seemingly well-educated idols mess up because the system makes it seem like what's taught and how it's presented is enough. Many Asians grow up with very little direct interaction with black people, so a lot of what they see and know comes directly from global media vehicles, which tend to.
That's true. A lot of things that people who are not from the U.S., especially if they have never grown up and known about the racial tensions in the United States, Canada, Mexico, South America, those places in the world where black people were taken from Africa and brought over to America, the Americas, they only know what they know from watching television. And so having been here and being an American myself, when I meet other people who are not from the U.S., they come with a different mindset of, oh, America's amazing, America's beautiful, it's an amazing country. But there's also, yes, there's social issues underlying in the U.S. that they don't know about. Um, I mean, like race is a social issue, and it's very heavily ingrained in the American way of life, and at least in the United States, still sometimes it comes up, and it's a ticking time bomb.
Represent black people stereotypically. Black individuals in Korean media are often caricatured or exoticized. Hip hop and black culture are appropriated without context and put on as if they were something
See, that's true. I have seen, looking at some, like if you watch TV shows from outside the United States, they have uh, this stereotypical look of black being black and in the way they make fun of it. But sometimes they make fun of it unknowingly. I mean, they do that with everybody, not just blacks, but with blacks, yeah, it happens. It happens even in Japanese manga. It's the same thing. When I read Japanese manga, some Japanese manga do the same thing, but they do it in a humorous way, not meant as a way, not as a way to offend people. Um,
relatable and funny. People who are not educated on the matter consume this stereotypical image of black people without comprehending the deeper historical and racial context. So what is often released to criticize and satirize a serious issue is taken literally. This is why such representations and cultural appropriations are made without concern. It's not that Koreans don't know what it means, but rather it just doesn't come off as inappropriate for them. It is extremely common for black people, specifically women in South Korea, to be approached by men who, in an attempt to flirt with them, start mentioning these stereotypical depictions as a way to establish some connection and proximity between them.
What's one of the downsides of living in Korea versus another country?
I guess people's comments, they don't mean to be racist, but I was at a store one time getting help from a worker, and he was helping me, and then I was talking Korean, he's Korean, we were talking a lot. As he was helping me out of nowhere, he just said, look, I love black people so much, he said, I like the music, the hip hop, and all that very much, and I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Thank you, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he wanted to use it to connect.
Okay, but what about idols who grew up in the West, like BM Julie or Jenny? People expect
So there you have it. I'm just gonna pause it right there. We're getting we're making headway through this video. So as he said, that one gentleman who was there, he grew up in South Korea. I mean, he's living in South Korea, and who was talking with a friend who, individual who, who said he loves black culture, he loves hip hop, he loves music, he loves everything about black people, and that's true. A lot of we kind of underplay. It's really underrated to know how powerful black the black culture is. It's really spread from America all over across the globe. So many black musicians and are famous, like Jay-Z, Kanye West, Beyonce. They are worldwide famous. The most popular of all, Michael Jackson, the most famous um, black black artist of all time. He's the king of pop. In fact, Michael Jackson is probably the one that started K-pop. He started pop music. He's the king of pop, and so it's really interesting. When you hear that the views from people who are not from the United States, but those who are from the United States, but then um, they go into the K-pop industry. Let's hear what they have to say about this.
idols who were born in these multicultural societies to be more racially aware than Koreans. And they should be, but that's not always true. Although living in the West may have assured them a more diverse societal living, as they are more exposed to more diverse cultures, they were still raised in Korean households, which means they most likely grew up under the Korean lens. In short, geography doesn't guarantee awareness, your cultural environment does. That's why there are racist people even in black communities. It's interesting to mention that it's quite common for Asian immigrants to teach their kids to ignore sensitive topics and conflicts to succeed, especially when it comes to race, as it can backfire on them. Growing up around a
Is that true? Is that true? I mean, I don't really know because I'm I'm a black person myself. But yes, yeah, that video, what's mentioned there is true. We have racists everywhere. It's racist in the black community, racism in the white community, racism in every single category of, wherever you can go, wherever you go in the world, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like you for whatever reason. And you're always going to have that problem. So, another thing that I wanted to mention is that yes, we do live in a multicultural society in America, and sometimes people get along, sometimes people don't get along. That's just the fact of life, and we have that here. So, uh, you know, and also for those who grew up in a multicultural society, when they go back to their culture and go into their culture, um, even though they are perceived to be part of the culture, they might not be accepted as part of the culture because they're from another country, because they grew up in a different culture. So they have to learn to adapt to that new culture, to that, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I have to say about that.
minority doesn't mean you truly understand their history. It just means you are more exposed to it. This happens especially in areas with casual racism or a lack of proper education, where people can grow up internalizing the same ignorant ideas as everyone else. So is it just ignorance and not racism? This varies depending on the individual. I cannot conclude that all idols are racists, nor can I say that none of them are. A lot of what seems like racism comes from pure cultural ignorance, not necessarily deep-rooted hate. This doesn't make it okay. It just helps explain the behavior. South Korea has a strong national identity due to Japanese colonialism, making ethnocentrism a method for Koreans to reclaim and maintain sovereignty. There is a huge favoritism toward white people, stemming from ideas about racial hierarchy absorbed from U.S. military forces that were once stationed in the country. In an article published in 2009, an international Korean school published data revealing that almost 50% of students said they have difficulties maintaining relationships with students who are not Korean due to different skin colors, fear of being ostracized by other Koreans, and embarrassment. Although this was a small research compared to the whole country, the point is the same. Racism is subtly ingrained in the Korean culture. So while it does vary depending on each person and their understanding of the matter, it is evident that Korean society impacts people's understanding, leading to cultural insensibility and, if not later deconstructed, racism. Why does it keep happening then? In K-pop, racism takes on different forms, so it may not be noticed as true racism by idols who were superficially taught about the matter. It may appear as cultural appropriation, disrespect, discrimination, etc. This thin line between appropriation and appreciation leads to unfortunate acts. It also leaves it open for actual racists to come through and act ridiculous ridiculously. There is also the fact that K-pop is mostly focused on South Korea. Therefore, when an idol is racist, it'll just fade in the background of their career, as the majority of the public following them is Korean and don't care for it. They will apologize, but won't educate themselves on the matter. K-pop borrows heavily from black culture, hip-hop, R&B, fashion, slang, hairstyles, and much, much more. However, many idols and companies don't acknowledge or don't even have an idea of where that style comes from. It's not always malicious or done with bad intentions, but it's still disrespectful. This cultural appropriation without understanding reinforces all the stereotypical images presented in the media, leading to problems like those mentioned, or even worse, which is when they mock the culture. It is 100% okay to be inspired, appreciate, and integrate parts of black culture into K-pop, but it must be understood where that is coming from in order not to cross the border between what's appreciation and appropriation. Plenty of idols have expressed and admitted their love for black music, style, and culture. The one I can think of from the top of my head was Uh-Oh by Idol, where Soyeon openly admitted to being inspired by the black rapper Rakim Allah. She paid homage to him in the music video and discussed it in a behind-the-scenes video. Once trainees join the K-industry, the Korean entertainment system takes over. Idols are trained to blend in and follow the rules while avoiding controversy. They lose a lot of touch with reality and the values around social justice, often being discouraged from speaking up just to fit in and make their dreams come true. The industry prioritizes image and conform.
Just want to pause right there for a quick word. Um, One of the things they mentioned, they mentioned cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. So cultural appropriation, I'm just thinking in my head, just some sort of social justice video. But basically, this this video is saying that yeah, K-pop does borrow from black culture, which is true. Um, but at the same time, um, yeah, they do. They take a lot of themes from it, and they are inspired by a lot of different artists. Um, yeah, even today, a lot of them K-pop is coming into Hollywood, and it's just very influenced. It's very becoming heavily influenced. Now that Hollywood is heavily influenced by K-pop. But let's just continue this.
Over personal beliefs. Companies often don't educate their artists about global issues, even though they're pushing them into international markets, because it's way more profitable for them to have artists who are ignorant than to have those who may voice anything. Sensitive topics are rarely addressed by idols, and those who do address it become targets of hate by the general public, making them want to address problems less and less. Idols who constantly address social issues must bear the weight that comes with it, and that's not an easy task, especially when you live in such a society. Companies do this because they know South Korea is the fallback, while the international market is where they are trying to get in. If they can't blend in for whatever reason, that's all right, they have South Korea. This leads to an endless cycle of scandals over lack of education for idols, and that's a bigger systemic problem, not just a Kiss of Life, Card, or Aeon problem. Although the audience is undoubtedly correct in bringing these issues up so idols can educate themselves, a great part of the public uses important cases like this to target, bully, and hate idols, editing clips, cutting clips, taking sentences out of context, all of it to have something, even if fake, to fulfill hateful fantasies and have an excuse to hate on idols. This is so serious that even idols had to explain that certain clips or statements were fake. After the Kiss of Life incident with the Shaken community, people started to edit and post clips, making fun of and hating the girls, just for the sake of canceling them, and not caring at all about actual racism. It's as if they were just waiting for the girls to mess up, so they could attack them, regardless of the reason. Just an observation. Part of the hate they received was understandable. Their actions were inappropriate and problematic. I am talking specifically about people who don't care about racism and prejudice. This not only causes harm to black fans, but it also completely removes the weight of a more than reasonable cause, making it seem like it's just a joke, which reinforces this cycle of recreative racism that K-pop has displayed. So in a way, fans are also part of the reason why the industry doesn't care to educate idols on important matters, as it won't matter if at the end of the day, it's just a way people find to hate. The conclusion for this video is, most idols most likely don't harbor hate or racist intentions toward black people, which is the classic definition of racism, but their actions still perpetuate harmful stereotypes and show a lack of basic respect and ethics. While it might not be intentional, it can still hurt people, and that's what matters. K-pop is a global industry, and a great portion of the audience is black, connected to black culture, or just well-educated to know what's right and wrong. With such influence comes a huge responsibility. Idols and companies need to start understanding the weight of what they do. Harm is still harm, even if it's unintentional. Mistakes can happen. People can learn from them and move on, but it's important to show growth. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, guys. So there's just a few more words about this video. Um, K-pop is becoming a global musical um, thing on the scene. A lot of it has to do with they're breaking barriers, and they're expanding away from Korea, because the first when the K-pop first started, it was like firstly very focused on South Korea, and of course there are people that watch K-pop in North Korea. although it's banned in North Korea. People watch it and they follow it. Um, the other factor is that K-pop is now the one of the most popular musical genres out there. Um, One of the things that this video talks about is um, it mentions is that racism is like K-pop. Racism is not taught. It's not directly in your face in K-pop, and the artists who are there are Korean, or some of the artists that are they're not only Korean. They look like they're Korean, but they could be from Japan or from Thailand. K-pop has included a lot of other ethnicities of people who are from Thailand, Japan, um, the Philippines. Like a lot of the like male and female stars go to Korea, to South Korea, to learn how to become K-pop artists, and they work together. That's why a lot of it not only comes from black music, but I think also they also get it from like the boy bands thing from the 2000s with NSYNC and all those guys from back in the day. I remember that, growing up. Um, I never saw like boy bands in hip hop. I might be wrong, but it wasn't R&B. It wasn't R&B. Um, but a lot of that is there's a lot of blending there that there's a lot of overlap there. So it's kind of an interesting topic to kind of talk about. This is a bit different from what we normally do. Um, but but here's the thing, guys. It's different. The culture is different. It's not American. This is not American culture. And yes, um, these guys. These guys are taking it. They are using elements of you know black music, hip hop music, R&B, jazz, all this stuff, using all this stuff, and then making it their own. Even using Latin music is incorporated into K-pop as well. Um, so I would say, when I can say from my own personal experience, having been to a few K-pop concerts and seen a few um, K-pop artists, one of them, I've seen a few girl groups. I haven't been to any boy groups, but I have seen girl groups. I went to see IU in concert, and there were a lot of Koreans there, but there were a lot of there were a lot of fans all over the world. But all these other groups also have fans all over the world because the music, it really unifies them. Um, when I went to the Blackpink concert, it was really interesting because you not only saw Asians, but there were also, um, with Twice and Blackpink, there were a lot of different types of groups: whites, blacks, Latinos, Latinas. Um, the majority was like Asians, but there were groups of people that were there that were to, share the support. And some of them had things that may have been their first time coming to the United States and seeing this. So, there's a lot that has to be said here about this, guys. It goes deep. I mean, you know, being G Idol. I know G Idol is one of the newer K-pop groups on the scene right now, and I have listened to a couple of their songs, and they are pretty good. They are good. They are good. But the way, in other things, you may have people that are in these K-pop groups that are from Korea themselves, and then um, they might incorporate some artists, some musicians who are not from Korea. They might be from another country, Japan, or um, Japan, or it might be from China or from Thailand. They could say we could say that I could say that there is maybe some element, um, maybe because they want to portray the elements of lighter skin as opposed to darker skin. But again, there are groups of K-pop artists where they have a mixture. They we saw in the video. There was the one group called Cat's Eye where they have some black members, like African um, females. I haven't seen any African males, but there are black people that are in the K-pop industry that are performers, and so K-pop has become. It's not only. I'm not gonna say it's a dark thing, because looking at the Korean society, I'm not really familiar with Korean society, but having listened to friends who are Asian, um, there's some of them too, or there's one friend of mine who is he loves K-pop. He's a big follower of K-pop, and he talks to me a lot about what's going on in K-pop. Um, One of the things that I want to talk about has nothing to do with racism, but it's more so has to do with the company, between the artist and the company, and that is um, there's a problem going on with um, the company called Hybe, and the company and the girl group, a K-pop girl group called New Jeans. So New Jeans and Hybe are they're in right now in locked in a court battle over over New Jeans' rights to to um to basically produce their music. But right now, Hybe it's just a big mess what's happening with Hybe and New Jeans. I probably might do a K-pop video live stream on this, but basically Hybe and New Jeans are locked in a court battle. New Jeans is trying to break out of its contract and move on to a different competitor where Hybe wants them to stay. And Hybe is one of the bigger. They actually manage some of the bigger um, K-pop artists on the scene right now. So um, it's kind of a mess what's going on with Hybe and New Jeans. But having to talk about racism, there is, they, it, it's there. Racism is there, but it's not really a focal point. It's not a huge problem in in the K-pop in the K-pop world. Maybe I haven't seen anything that happened with G Idol with their group because I don't know. I haven't really paid any attention to the news. But this is the first time for me. But I would have to go back and watch that myself. But let me know what you guys think about this because it's kind of an interesting topic to learn about. And I'm not going to keep this long. Um, I'm going to be ending this stream now. So that's it for this live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to you later. See you in the next live stream. Have a great day.